Welcome, folks, to a early signing day edition / primer of Talking Stuff, the Ohio State recruiting podcast on Lettermen Row. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. That's Spencer Holbrook. We're here at Roosters on Olentangy Road down the street from Ohio State because we're doing other stuff. So, but now we're going to talk real stuff.
Talking stuff.
You know, recruiting stuff. Dive right in because it's talking stuff, and we have one obligation to our viewers and listeners, and that is to talk about C.J. Stroud.
So we're talking Stroud.
We're talking Stroud at the start of this episode. C.J. Stroud, country second-ranked pro-style quarterback, Rancho Cucamonga, California, made his official visit to Ohio State over the weekend. His final visit before the dead period, which began on Monday morning. It is the visit that people kind of been waiting for since he took the first unofficial trip to Columbus in October. This visit came on the heels of a Michigan official visit, on the heels of a Georgia official visit, and now we are officially a day and a half away from C.J. Stroud announcing his college decision because on Monday afternoon he took to Twitter and said he's making an announcement Wednesday, signing day the 18th, at 12:30 p.m.
I'm glad you put that into Eastern Standard Time because I thought you were going to say 9:30.
12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then we're going to know the fate of C.J. Stroud. Spencer, how important is it for Ohio State to sign a second quarterback on Wednesday?
Well, to take the words out of Ryan Day's mouth, it's huge because he wants to have 4. He is okay with 3, but he really wants to have 4.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's really okay with 3. I think that was just kind of him saving face and saying, I guess if we have 3, that's fine. Maybe he's trying not to tip his hand because he knows there's going to be 4. Maybe he knows something we don't, which he probably knows a lot of things we don't. But I think it's really, really important for them to get a 4th quarterback.
Here's what
roster.
I think. I'm going to cut you off. Here's what I think. I think he realizes the importance of adding C.J. Stroud on Wednesday is that next season there's Justin Fields, and then there's Gunnar Hoke, and then there's Jack Miller, and maybe C.J. Stroud. So next year you're going to have 4, right?
4.
But after that,
you got 2.
There's only 2, and then you have Kyle McCord who adds in the 2021 class, and so then you have 3. So
Ryan Day's first 4 or 5 years as the head coach of Ohio State is going to be spent playing catch up for lack of a quarterback last year
because of what happened with Matthew Baldwin and Tate Martell and Dwayne Haskins and Joe Burrow. All these things that
Juwan Mathis and
all these
everything
things that occurred.
happened.
All these things that occurred in the quarterback room have put Ohio State and Ryan Day in this position where now it is about catch-up, and I think that it's not about having 3 next year. It's about having 3 the year after, and that's really the key here. 3 is pretty much where they're going to have to be moving forward because, as he talked about in his Monday press conference, kids don't stay for 4 years as a quarterback if you're not playing. So right now it's about identifying and saying, well, if C.J. Stroud doesn't sign with the Buckeyes on Wednesday, then they're looking at maybe 2 guys heading into the 2021 season, and that would be just Jack Miller and Kyle McCord, and that cannot happen.
Yeah, that would be the worst case scenario for this team.
So then they'd go back to the transfer portal and in this next month or 2, and then repeat the cycle every single year from here to infinity.
Well, and the big thing to remember is they can go to the transfer portal, but they're not getting another Justin Fields from the transfer portal.
Right, that guy doesn't exist.
That's not happening. And if somebody sees a crowded room already in there, they're going to get a lower tier guy. They're going to get. No offense, they're going to get a Gunnar Hoke.
Yeah, you're not going to want to get a quarterback in the transfer portal who's going to come in and be the backup.
Because he's transferring because he doesn't want to be the backup.
Right. And so, bottom line, Wednesday, C.J. Stroud, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The decision that he makes will impact a lot of what Ryan Day does for the next couple of years. The vibe coming off of the official visit was pretty positive for Ohio State. A lot of people saying a lot of good things, but Stroud did not silently commit to the Buckeyes during his trip, and I know that there's really not always a clear way to know that, but you just trust what you've been told. And that means there's still an opening for Georgia, for Michigan, and those are really the other 2 schools that are in the mix here, USC on the periphery. But ultimately, I think this is still Ohio State, Georgia. And for the Bulldogs, the biggest question is whether or not you can go there and be developed as a quarterback. And I don't think that they've done enough with Jake Fromm to show that that's the case for C.J. Stroud. And that's why even before finding out if Jake Fromm is going to be going off to the NFL, the decision has to be made by Stroud, and that's why I think he's willing to sign on Wednesday rather than waiting until February when he would know if Fromm was going to be off to the NFL.
Well, and it's one thing to be recruited by 2 head coaches. It's another thing to be recruited by 2 head coaches, one of them is working with Quincy Avery's quarterbacks, and the other one is Kirby Smart.
Right.
And I think that's a big deal. I don't think that's something we've talked about that much, but I think it's something we should probably talk about a little more because Kirby Smart, whether he likes it or not, is going to have this Jake Fromm-sized cloud hanging over him now because Jake Fromm has not gotten better. It's been 3 years with Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart's a defensive coach, so you know he relies on those offensive guys, and maybe it's just the system he's in, but Jake Fromm has not gotten better, and Dwayne Haskins got a lot better. Joe Burrow got better under Ryan Day. Justin Fields is getting better under Ryan Day. And it speaks to the way that he develops quarterbacks, but it also speaks to the way he can now recruit and go out and show these prospects there's proof in what I do as a quarterback's coach.
Yeah, Urban Meyer used to always use the phrase testimony over theory, and the quarterback situation that Ryan Day has developed in the last few years is a prime example of that. So.
Well, and it's one other thing about Ohio State and Georgia. In my opinion, if you want to be developed by Ryan Day and eventually start, Ohio State obviously is a great place to be developed. If you want to play right away and not know if you're going to get any better, you can play probably right away if Jake Fromm leaves and goes to Georgia.
No doubt.
And if you go to Georgia, you can play right away, but you don't know how much you're going to be developed and how much better you're going to
be.
And
I think that's why, again, there's no decision been made yet. It's going to become public on Wednesday what his final answer is. But I think that's why I lean towards him picking the Buckeyes, because if he was really interested in playing time first and knowing which situation was going to provide the clearest path to starting, he'd wait until February. And he's not waiting until February. He's not waiting until the middle of January when Jake Fromm would have to make his NFL decision. So I think that's really where I'm at with Stroud. I think he's going to pick Ohio State on Wednesday. I think that will be a huge win for Ohio State and Ryan Day. But they're also in a position on Wednesday when another California kid, Clark Phillips, could spurn them and end up signing with Utah after taking an official visit with the Utes over the weekend as an
emergency,
as a reaction to the Jeff Hafley departure news. So that's where they're at. Ryan Day said on Monday he expects all 5 defensive backs to sign on Wednesday. Did you think that was coach speak, or did you buy it?
I completely think it's coach speak. Ryan Day, in all likelihood, knows that Clark Phillips actually has a decision. There was no decision to be made until Friday night at, 9:30?
Yeah.
And now there's a huge decision. Clark Phillips wanted to play for Jeff Hafley. He did. I don't even know if he wanted to play for Ohio State as much as he wanted to play for Jeff Hafley, which I don't know how great of a philosophy that is, considering if you look at Jeff Hafley, you knew he was going to move on before your career was over.
Yeah, that's the thing. He knew that even if he did come play for Jeff Hafley, the likelihood it was going to be 1 year.
Yeah, and so he wanted to be coached by Jeff Hafley. Now Ryan Day is going to have to sell to him without speaking to him.
Well, he can speak to him.
Without going to see him.
He can't see him in person. He can't sit down with him, and he can't say to him the most important thing, which is, this is who your coach is going to be.
Exactly.
And you're going to be okay.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. If Ryan Day could look at him and say, this is going to be your coach. Here are the guys he's developed from Ohio State. Marshawn Lattimore, Gary Conley.
Right. I mean, we're referencing the possibility that it's Kerry Combs, who obviously his reputation in building Ohio State into the DBU that they are is huge. But
as we talk about this right now on the TV at Roosters, the AFC playoff picture was just up there.
Yeah,
and the Titans are right in the thick of it.
So you just don't know. And the fact is, maybe Kerry Combs doesn't want to come back to college. And if he doesn't, then Ryan Day doesn't know who that guy is. And I think it's very clear Kerry Combs is the top choice. But coaching searches are crazy, right? Like anything can happen.
And would Clark Phillips want to play
Am I crazy?
Would Clark Phillips want to play for Kerry Combs? That's another question. And so Ryan Day is going to have to put Urban Meyer's closer hat on.
Right.
And this is his first true test. If you beat Georgia and Michigan for C.J. Stroud, that is gravy because you already have a quarterback in the class. You're losing every defensive back on the field right now to the NFL draft. You have got to replace them with college-ready guys. And from everything we've read about him, everything we've heard about him, what you've seen from him, Clark Phillips is a college-ready cornerback who can come in and help the Buckeyes right away. I think this is a huge opportunity for Ryan Day on the recruiting trail.
It's an opportunity for him to cement himself as someone that Ohio State fans will revere for a long time. If they can withstand this and not lose any of these defensive backs, it would be an unbelievable win for Ryan Day. And we talk so much about CAR, right? Comfort and relationships. But we can't forget the CART. Comfort, relationships, trust, right? Does Clark Phillips trust Ryan Day? And that ultimately is what this decision is going to come down to on Wednesday or Tuesday night, whenever Clark Phillips makes the final call in his recruitment. It is all going to come down to, does he trust that Ryan Day knows what he's doing and is ready to make the best hire he can? We know it's likely going to be an NFL guy. That has to be appealing to Clark Phillips. Logically, Clark Phillips has to understand he didn't know who Jeff Hafley was a year ago. Nobody did. And now Jeff Hafley is the only guy he wants to play for, right? He's not going to go to Boston College, so you're still not going to play for Jeff Hafley. So why go to a place like Utah if it's simply there because you think that their coaches are going to be there longer? That's fine. If you want to be closer to home and you want to play at a place that has less coaching turnover, Utah's a perfect.
And Morgan Scalley's a good defensive coordinator. So
and it's a nice program. They've done a great job there. They've stayed relevant in the Pac-12. I don't know how long that continues with the rise of Oregon and USC still kind of a sleeping giant out there. Arizona State getting better. They put players in the NFL. They have not done that at the rate Ohio State has. Nobody has. But if it comes down to simply wanting to be at a place where there's consistency and you know who the coach is going to be and trust. That's what it comes down to. So does Clark Phillips trust Ryan Day to make the right decision? We're not going to know that answer for sure, probably until Wednesday morning.
The other thing I will say about this is Ohio State fans grew to trust Urban Meyer. Mm-hmm. When Jackson Carman, we're getting closer to the Clemson game, when Jackson Carman left the state of Ohio and went to Clemson, everybody at Ohio State was panicking, running around like a chicken with their head cut off. What are we going to do? We just lost the best tackle prospect since Orlando Pace. And Urban Meyer basically said, stop what you're doing. I'll be back. He got on a plane. He went to Tampa. He brought back Nick Petit-Frere. Well, in a vacuum, I guess.
It's definitely in a vacuum because he had time. Ryan Day doesn't have until February to find another cornerback because a cornerback. I mean, Clark Phillips is the number 4 ranked corner in the country. At that time, you're talking about Jackson Carman, who was the 2nd ranked offensive tackle. Nicholas Petit-Frere was the number 1 ranked offensive tackle, but he wasn't signing until February.
But my only analogy with this is Ohio State fans said, okay, Urban, let's see what you got.
Sure.
And they trusted Urban Meyer that Urban Meyer was going to go out and get somebody that fit the program, that was going to help the program, that wasn't named Jackson Carman and wasn't from Fairfield, Ohio.
Right.
So this is a time for Ryan Day not only to prove himself to everybody at Ohio State, but Buckeye Nation. Hey, when things like this happen, I got this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still waiting for the other shoe to drop on the Ryan Day era and waiting for something to go wrong that he can't fix. And to this point, we haven't seen something he can't fix. So we're going to find out if the Clark Phillips situation fits that mold or if it's a situation that he can't correct. But what we do know is that the other 4 defensive backs in the class of 2020, which includes Legend Cavazos, Lathan Ransom, Cameron Martinez, and Ryan Watts, those situations all appear to have been fixed.
Yeah, Ryan Watts is a big one. You know, he was recruited. Berm has to get something to drink here. He was recruited by Jeff Hafley. He committed to Jeff Hafley, and now he's going to play for somebody else, and he's going to play for Ryan Day.
Right.
Cam Martinez is a big one because he's so versatile. So
Cam didn't want to play defensive back to begin with, and he still isn't really sold on the idea. What he was sold on was playing for Jeff Hafley. Now it's about fixing that, and the Buckeyes appear to have done it. But is it enough, for Clark Phillips? We don't know.
And you talk to a lot of these guys, so you know probably better than I do, and I probably shouldn't be talking even though you're drinking, so you can't talk. But a lot of these guys, did they want to play for Jeff Hafley? Yes, but it seems like they're becoming more sold on the program that sits at 13-0 and is getting ready to play in the Fiesta Bowl than just being sold on Jeff Hafley. It seems
that's what happens naturally. I mean, the kids get to know the rest of the staff.
I don't think there was a possibility of, and maybe I'm selling him short, but I don't think there was a possibility of Legend Cavazos not coming to Ohio State.
Well,
his relationship with Julian Fleming, his family relationship with the program now, he's kind of like his family is just kind of a fixture in this recruiting class.
The Cavazos family is a prime example of what I was just talking about with Clark Phillips. They decided very early, we're going to trust Ryan Day, and it paid off because theirs
was like a blind trust.
Right,
in Ryan.
absolutely.
They had no idea.
Absolutely. So what you see with the rest of the defensive backs, they've all reaffirmed their plans to commit or to stay with Ohio State, to sign on Wednesday. Ryan Watts will enroll early. Legend Cavazos will enroll early. Cameron Martinez and Lathan Ransom will not enroll early. But in a secondary that's going to replace all 4 starters, it is huge for Ohio State.
Possibly.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, Sean Wade's going to go pro. So
you just broke somebody's heart.
I mean,
somebody that's watching this, their heart.
Sean Wade's going to go pro. Jeffrey Okuda's going to go pro. Damon Arnett's going pro. Jordan Fuller's going pro. They're all gone. So it cannot be understated how important it is for Ohio State to have all 5 of these defensive backs signed with the Buckeyes on Wednesday, because Clark Phillips is enrolling early somewhere in 3 weeks. He's the highest-ranked defensive player in the class. He's the 4th-ranked defensive back in the country. He's a player that Ohio State is counting on not just to play as a freshman, but likely step into the nickel spot as the starter next year. So when you're talking about breaking down all the positions that we've done over the last few weeks, none of them have the sort of immediate need that the defensive backs do. And that's why, with the timing of Jeff Halfway's departure, things couldn't have been more frustrating for Ryan Day and for the program, because I don't think that they really thought he was going to leave anywhere. But in a way, it's like, don't you just wish this would have happened 3 weeks ago so you could actually go out and see these kids? On the flip side, if it happens 3 weeks ago, these kids can take other visits, right? So it's sort of a catch-22.
Yeah, it's 2 sides of the same coin, Berm, and you just have to decide which one you want it to land on.
I want it to land on Wednesday afternoon, and I want signing day to be over. And that is what I want.
Yeah, because once signing day is over, they know who's in this thing.
And then they can focus on the February signing day, which we'll talk about next week on Talking Stuff, because we're going to wrap this up.
Do you know where we'll be next week talking stuff?
Next week, we're going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, talking stuff. We'll talk to you from the JW Camelback Marriott Resort.
Hopefully we'll have a nice backdrop.
Oh,
I mean, this one's really nice, and the food's really good.
There's mountains and cacti. It's a nice place.
I want to find a cactus. Have a cactus in between us.
This has been Talking Stuff, the Ohio State Recruiting Podcast on Lettermen Row. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. That's Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Later this week, we should have a pretty special edition of Bermanology coming at some point this week, and looking forward to sharing that with you guys. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and you know we got Buckeye IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.